We're live. We are live. So, hi everyone, and welcome to our very first episode of Women Wise, the Women Wise podcast. I am your co-host, Sara Haboubi, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be kicking off with my amazing co-host, Janine.
I am so excited. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on Women Wise podcast. I am so excited. As Sara just mentioned, co-hosting this space with her is absolutely awesome. And to celebrate the incredible woman that is actually shaping the Dubai landscape. I hope you are hoorahing in your own space because this is just where it's about to happen.
Absolutely, Janine. And we're going to be here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Dubai time. And the whole point is to do some deep dives into some incredible stories of women who are very dynamic, who are making a difference in one way, shape, or form in other people's lives in particular.
Absolutely. I mean, these women they are inspiring us, they challenge us, and who know us better to just, surround yourself with these kind of people. And we'll be talking about their journeys, their successes, and of course, the lessons they've learned along their way, because boy, oh boy, there's always a lesson or two around the corner, right?
For sure. And look, even if you're a really seasoned entrepreneur, or you have a really creative mind, or you're just starting out, Women Wise is for you. It's for every woman. And we wanted, as Janine said, to create a space where women can connect, they can feel really empowered. Again, as you said, about the lessons, sort of learning from each other. And it's also important for you to know our mission, which is essentially to empower and to inspire women in Dubai by showcasing their journeys, their achievements, their wisdom, in a very dynamic city. These are very dynamic women. And obviously, we're looking for those insightful interviews. We want to engage them in discussions. We want to dig deep with them and find out, how did they do their journey? What did they have to overcome? And it's an idea basically where women can celebrate each other, support each other, learn from each other, and really break down, barriers that can exist, especially in this day and age when we've got such an online living. But to try and have, even though it's going to be online, most of it, to have that really engaging, inspiring discussion.
Oh, yeah. I love our mission because it just goes hand in hand with our vision as well. And Woman Wise podcast is really all about aspiring to leading a voice for the women in Dubai, fostering really a true supportive community that celebrates diversity, because there's real true diversity here, encouraging ambition, because we all have that. And it also ignites that movement of female empowerment, which is really something that we really need. And by sharing these stories with extraordinary women, we aim to inspire future generations and also redefining what it means to actually be a successful woman within Dubai. I absolutely love our vision and mission, Sara.
Me too. And, the interesting thing is our guest tonight, so I hope you're all ready. We're going to introduce her in a moment, is actually the reason why Janine and I actually met. So it made perfect sense for her to be our very first amazing, inspiring guest. So we're going to bring into the studio Michelle France, and she is from Social Business Connects. Hi, Michelle.
Good evening, lovely ladies. How are you?
We are fantastic. Well, I'm going to speak for Janine. I'm going to say we're fantastic.
I have to say words out of my mouth.
Well, I have to say I have been waiting quietly in the corner, but listening to your vision and mission has been even more inspirational than I could imagine. So well done, you.
Oh, thanks, Michelle. So, Michelle, I'm going to hand over to you, and I'm actually going to steal a couple of your questions that you asked us on your networking event, which is where we met. So just give us a little bit of background about who you are as a person, and then obviously what you do.
Okay, so I am Michelle. I am South African by birth, My family left for Australia when I was 16 in the midst of a rather terrible time in South Africa. So I'm Australian by nationality, but I'm actually a Dubai resident of nearly 27 years. But mind you, I only came for 2 years. I think I can hear some of the ladies out there saying, me too, me too. Yeah, there's quite a few of us who came for 2 years and 27 years later still have a smile on our faces. I am a wife. I am a sister. I am a daughter. And I am a very, very committed auntie. So for the last 27 years, I have been living in Dubai. I've worked, I've not worked, I've studied, I've not studied. I've certainly danced, and I've certainly played lots in those 27 years in Dubai.
Fantastic. And obviously your background when you arrived here for your 2-year stint, which, I think, so many people have that. But
Yeah.
2 years, we'll try it. And decades yet later, they're still there. So you came as a teacher, is that right?
I did. I arrived with a load of other teachers to open a new school in Dubai. And we started a school. It was brand new. That was a lesson in how not to run a school, but that's it for another day. But it was an incredible time of meeting incredible people and getting to know Dubai, which was a very different place 27 years ago. I clearly remember crossing Sheikh Zayed Road because simply our little taxi driver dropped us on the opposite side, and we really wanted a coffee on the other side of the road. So we would just traipse along, cross over Sheikh Zayed Road with no care or thought about it. So yes, that was how I came to Dubai.
And on your journey in education, you as you said, you opened a school. So you worked as a teacher, but obviously in terms of the administration side as well. So you had both of those experiences at the coalface and also the management side of things, which is quite unusual for a lot of teachers, isn't it?
It is actually. And there is a movement in teaching, particularly from years gone by, but it's one that has persevered, and rightly so, in my humble opinion, where people have gone from the coalface, gone through the different channels. So from classroom teaching to middle leadership to senior leadership. And you're right, by the end of my 35-year career, both in Australia and in Dubai, I was head of a primary school. Which was for me, it was something I'd never quite aspired to. But when the opportunity presented itself, after doing what I think a lot of ladies listening would do, I can't, maybe I can, maybe I can't, but I did. And I worked with an incredible woman by my side, and together we had a really interesting, fascinating, and highly rewarding time. We really did.
I can't even imagine the transition. I'm just so flabbergasted as to.
I know. I thought Janine was going to jump in with a question there, but I think she was actually like, wow. Because I think, obviously, again, teaching is quite transitory here, isn't it? There are a lot of people who come and go, but
Absolutely.
to stay and really see the city grow and the education system obviously change, because, nothing is ever going to be static anywhere, but particularly here. It's very, very dynamic, and there would have been a lot of changes.
I think, sorry.
Yeah, go. No, go.
I was going to say, Sara, in the days 27 years ago, the number of schools, so let's just even talk about sheer size and opportunity or options. There were a group of about 8 schools in Dubai at the time, both primary and secondary, though I think there were 2 secondary schools. And you're looking at now where we have over 280 registered private schools in Dubai. So You're talking, and that's in the space of 27 years. It is astounding and phenomenal. So yes, the landscape from 27 years ago is so different to what it is. There are some definite positives. There are things that are, still developing, but that's what happens when you expand at such an incredible rate. Yeah. It's a very different landscape and an incredible journey, not just for me, but I think I speak on the behalf of, quite a few educators around in Dubai, and dare I say business people too.
Oh, absolutely. So when did you retire then from your teaching? Because you haven't retired because you're still a very busy lady. So when did you retire from your teaching career?
Right. So in July 21, I left the profession, and it was an opportunity. It was a decision not to actually apply for any further jobs and just to take a break. And I felt I needed to recalibrate. I actually think on reflection now, I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. It was a wonderful job, but you don't actually realize when you're in the thick of things just how you get so used to that speed, you get so used to that intensity. And I think that's what happened to me. And when I actually stopped, I may have fallen over a little bit and just decided, okay, I'm going to use this as a chance to think. And you know, when they say one door closes, let's see if another door is open. But I knew that I had to be open to seeing the open door, you know, and for me, taking that time out was an incredible luxury. And initially it was meant to be for a year. So I started studying, which has always been on my bucket list. And, you know, by the end of that year, I had realized that I needed and I wanted a change, but boy, was I terrified. I was absolutely terrified listening to other folks who had done it, watching people who wanted to do it but didn't feel confident to do it. It was a really interesting time in my little life, I have to say. So
Yeah,
I like
what you said. There's you have to be open for that door to actually open.
And Janine, I'd go further to even say that you won't to do that. You actually have to be in a place. So if you're in that crazy, hectic paced type setting or context, seeing those doors is really, really difficult. And so, and I think, you know, one of the strategies I would recommend is actually just stopping. And I know we stop on the weekends, but that's not really stopping. That's just breathing.
Well, some people don't. Some people don't. Some people play hard, work hard. So again, what other? So apart from stopping, which for some people actually is really hard. It's really difficult.
It was difficult for me.
I would say most people who are doers and who are achievers and who want to keep giving as well of yourself, if you're in a profession where, you know, it's not just about you or a company, for example, you are dealing with human beings face to face, to actually take that time for yourself. What else did you do then that you could recommend for other people to do to get over that? Because it is a barrier. It is, especially if you felt burnt out. I think there can be that, you know, 100%. Almost get back onto the adrenaline, you know, hamster wheel.
I tell you what I did do is I started networking. I started chatting to people, and they weren't necessarily formal networking events, but, you know, just going out to lunch with different groups of people, women that I'd established, or not just women, but people I'd established contacts with in years gone by that I'd actually really not just followed up with any degree of interest or intensity. And I kind of went through my contacts and had I haven't spoken to so-and-so for a while. So I did reach out, you know, and I did have some wonderful, and dare I say many of them, lunches, extended lunches, breakfast, extended breakfast. So I did do that. So I did reach out, number one. Number two, and that was with the intention of learning about them a little bit more and just, I guess, thinking about some of my options. The other thing I did do was I started studying. And for me, that was something that really was an opportunity. I knew that I'm the type of person when I can sit back and reflect, that helps me in my journey in moving forward, because I hadn't quite decided what I wanted to do. And so, you know, studying, learning, again, meeting a completely different group of people in my class, a different group of professionals, being in contact with university lecturers, that was all really new for me, but so exciting and very energizing, because that's what
What are you studying? I'm sure everyone is curious to know. You went back to study. What did you choose to do?
I'm 4 months off doing completing my master's degree in education, leadership, and management. It was something I've always wanted to do. I've tried to do it twice while I was working. I ran out of steam, and stopping, recalibrating. At the time, it was the perfect thing to do in that stopping period. But dare I say, I haven't stopped since I've started it. It's been crazy.
It's a good job you had your break beforehand then.
Sorry?
It's a good job you had your break before then you started studying.
I did. I did have a break actually in between my 2 years of my master's, where I did actually go and do something which I am to this day so grateful I had the opportunity to do, which was to help my mum and dad and move from their family home into smaller accommodation, much more manageable accommodation. And that was nearly a 5-month process in Australia. So, you know, I would have never been able to do that if I was working full time. And so, that will always remain a very special time for me. So, yeah, I did stop, but it actually doesn't sound like I stopped, did it? Does it?
Your definition of stopping is
and I have to say, what came out of that stop period was the birth of Strategic Business Connect, which is a company that I co-founded with my husband. So yeah, that was all in that stopping period, which was super energizing and not at all slow paced. But very, very exciting. I think I like to juggle. I'm one of your girls who just loves juggling lots and lots of balls. And even in my previous profession, that's what I did. So I think I just kept going, really, but in a different way.
Yeah. But I like that, because discomfort today is growth tomorrow, and it's kind of embracing the unknown. And I think that you just touched on it is the SBC space. So I think Sara has got the same question. Please tell us more about this SBC space.
Well, it was actually a little baby that was born using, and I guess, again, part of that stopping and recalibrating and rethinking things. What I did realize was I actually knew what my husband did. I didn't actually know what he did. I don't know if any of the ladies out there can relate to it. I had my career, which was full on. He was full on, and we kind of met in the corridors and other places and had chit chats and all the rest. But when I actually stopped and took the time to understand what he did, it was actually coming into the business, into his existing business, with a new set of eyes. And I realized that there was actually a bit of a gap. I had started my small business, and I was quite startled, would be the word I'd use, at what networking was like. And I knew I had to do it. Like, I knew I had to network I didn't have thousands of dirhams to spend on marketing. So I knew I wanted to network. I enjoyed networking. I needed to network. But what I quickly realized was that it wasn't meeting my early journey as an entrepreneur. It wasn't meeting my needs. What I needed, I was not getting out of networking. But I realized that I had to learn about it, because I thought, I'm outgoing, I'm social, well, I can talk to a person, no problem. But that's actually not what networking is, but I thought it was. And then I actually also realized that I needed it to be productive. I needed structure. And that's a little bit of my teacher life kicking in there. But I knew what my objectives were, and they were not being fulfilled. So that's when SBC, we put our heads together, and I said to Phil, there had to be something in the middle where that gave folks another option. We're blessed in Dubai. There you can network every minute of the day. There's morning, noon, and evening events. We are spoilt for choice. There's no two ways about it. And quite a lot of them are great events. They're super. But we decided to actually create something that was a bit unique, that kind of rocked the boat a little bit in the networking world, because it needed to be, in my humble opinion. And so Yeah, so we SBC, which is not about numbers, it's not about quantity, it's not about getting people in and getting them out and getting hundreds of people in a room. It's got absolutely nothing to do with that. In actual fact, we've gone the other way, and we actually quite limit our numbers. It's about quality. It's about creating opportunities where we can connect as humans and connect as people and as business people, but human first. And so with my expertise in creating communities and my passion for looking after people in communities, that's my background. We combine that with Phil's incredible depth of experience in Dubai, in the business world. We've both been here I'm just over 27, he's just under 27 years. So we put the two together and created this SBC community of business owners. And I'm pleased to say, in creating it, we've realized there were lots of other people who thought the way we did. And it's been a wonderful to people, case in point, that I'm looking at. So it's been wonderful to feel that synergy, to hear of the successes, the collaborations. So that's how SBC was born just over a year ago. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, happy birthday to
we did celebrate.
And absolutely, I mean, this is how Janine and I met, and it was only, I think, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was really, but I was blown away by so you have several different types of networking events. It's not just one thing. And the one we met at was the She Connects event.
That's right.
Which I can absolutely testify, it was a small gathering, and the depth to which everybody went to so fast I was blown away, I have to say. I felt this incredible warmth towards absolutely everybody. I felt like we all knew a little bit about each other that you would never get just from we were all given 4 minutes in total, weren't we, to talk about different to answer your questions. But for me personally, it was quite an outstanding morning, and I hadn't even expected to go. It was something I had done, something I'd been on a call the day before, and ended up going, and we met, and Janine and I met. And so I suppose we're going to steal another one of your questions, which you use in your networking, which is to talk about, apart from Janine and I, somebody who's had great success from your networking. Can you think of somebody who, because of your particular unique approach, has had great success?
Oh, okay. All right. I've got one. She's one of many, I have to say. And I think that's what keeps you going, is when people take the time to let you know about their successes. And we just met with her last week, and it's a shout out to Maria from Future Zone, who came to us about 6 months ago, and she was so anxious. She didn't think she liked networking. She didn't want to network, but she was new in her business, and she knew that networking was something she needed to explore in order to grow her business. So she wasn't confident, and she was definitely not comfortable presenting her business in a networking environment. Even though she was perfectly capable, it was not something that she believed she could do. So after being with us, and we're talking about 6 months down the track, Maria, within that time, she did the work. So it's a bit of us, but it's also her. She signed up for our VIP platform. She committed to coming, because you've got to show up. She got to know people in our community. She gave back to the community. People started to know her about her business, like her, trust her. She attended some of our free coaching sessions, so she learned how to network properly and get the best out of networking situations. So rock on. 6 months later, last week Maria sat down with us, and she's reported a 30% growth in her business. And by year end, she predicts that she will have 50% business growth. She's also received an award for a business award for business growth again. And she's also been featured in Yellow Magazine. And I mean, this is all in the space of 6 months. But she actually sat there with us last week and related or reminded us about her journey, and just was, it was just heartwarming. We were all filled with gratitude and a real sense of pride and achievement with Maria.
Well, that is an amazing story. Janine, we've got a few questions, haven't we? So I think we'll take some questions, and then we're going to come back and keep digging with Michelle. What are the questions we've got from some of our viewers?
I'm so excited because we've got some great questions for Michelle. So I really hope you're ready for this. They're all good questions. Nalina, I hope I pronounced the name correctly. If not, please forgive me. The question is, I'd like to know what words or actions of support have been the most impactful for you, Michelle, in your working life so far. Oh, what a beautiful question.
Great question.
I think that's Nalini. I think I know her too. Some of the words were, be brave. Be brave, because even though you think you can't, you can. And I think when I described my journey from being a classroom teacher to being a senior leader in Dubai, that was the mantra that I lived by. And it's not easy, but they were certainly the words that made a big difference. And us girls, we tend to go to the I can't before we go to the I can. And even though people tell us we can, for whatever reason, we just don't seem to believe them. And so for me, I would have to say, that would be it. You can do it.
That just reminds me of, I think it's called the Paula effect. Have you seen the book? And what they actually looked at was women applying for jobs versus men applying for the same jobs. You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Michelle?
Yes.
Where, so for example, if there were 10 criteria for a job and a woman didn't meet all of those, she wouldn't apply. Whereas a man might look at it and go, well, I don't meet any, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. know, whereas, so that's really, I think, really pertinent to that, which is about be brave, put yourself out of that comfort zone.
Absolutely.
If you keep telling yourself you can't, obviously that becomes true, but the reality is it's not really the case.
Absolutely. And Sara, I would even go one step further and say, in taking the leap to do it, right, regardless of what those results are, if you decide it's not for you, again, be brave and change course. Our decisions that we make, sorry, Nalini, this is my second set of words. The other thing is we are allowed to choose. We choose. We get to live our life, and we make those decisions. We make those decisions based on what we've got at the time. If it turns out that it's not 100% what we wanted, or, we'd like to change tack, why not? Why not? It's nothing is set in stone. And I think I grew up in an era where I believed that things were set in stone. But actually, when you dig deep, there's not a lot that's set in stone. We can actually rewrite whatever we need to rewrite to enjoy the journey that we're on, because you only get to do that journey once. So, and I know that more than others. So that I would say that.
Those are great words of wisdom. And actually, even for younger women, who are maybe even at university and just, starting their careers. I certainly have met a lot of young people who are terrified of making a mistake in their choices, of choosing the wrong road and then thinking that's it, they're stuck on it. There's no way back. And that's kind of, Janine and I talked a lot about this show and what this was about. And it's actually exactly that if you find yourself doing something that you're not maybe enjoying as much as you were, or the landscape has changed and it doesn't suit who you are anymore. Maybe your values are no longer aligned, or the situation has changed for whatever reason. To be able to change your mind and say, no, 100%. I'm not going to sit with this. I think it's so powerful.
Absolutely.
It's very. No one is fewer than you.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
You need to bring your uniqueness in every situation you can. And that alone is powerful.
Yeah. And I think, Sarah, what you were saying, Janine, to some extent as well, it does come down to being courageous, and being courageous and being brave. It's not easy. You use the word terrified. When I made the transition, I literally was terrified. You're almost to a point where you actually have to stop in order to realize exactly, what you're going to do, or have a proper think about things. But because you're moving from security to insecurity. You're moving from the known into the unknown. You're moving into, a place where that is so familiar to something that's completely unfamiliar. And all of that, kind of pulls the rug from under you. And it takes strength, and it takes, an essence of courage to be able to work through it, because it does change. It does become familiar, and it does become more known. We never quite get there, but that's part of the journey.
It's that open door, right? We've got another question, Michelle. We've got another question from one of our viewers, Nikki Marshall. She's asking, is networking and building connections and relationships a more effective way of marketing a business than the more traditional avenues of marketing or advertising a business? What is your opinion on that?
Great question. Thanks,
question.
Nikki.
It's a super question, Nikki. Well done for that. I would say we are humans first before we're business people. And I would say that when you are connecting, and when I say connecting, I'm not talking about spraying and praying networking, where you just go out and fling business cards and kind of hope that someone catches it and that they'll call you and they'll be your client and you'll make a ton of money. That's not networking. But when you're talking about what networking really is, which is making connections, and remember, the event is just the start of it, all right? The magic happens after the event, and that's another thing people don't understand. So in answer to Nikki's question, it is actually essential. It is absolutely essential, number one, and number two, way more beneficial, because the relationship that you build lasts a whole lot longer than that, initial or that one-off purchase that someone may have made for your product or for your services. So I would say for sure, definitely, it's investing in humans. Nothing could be more precious and more valuable than that.
So I'm going to ask you a question, because I've been to 2 of your events. In the first one, I made connections with 3 out of the 11 people. Wow. 1, I engaged her services, and 2, we met up for coffee. 1 is also going to become a partner in a different arena, and Janine and I, obviously, just the spark got lit up, and here we are at the beginning. And then your second one, which was a mixer, which was a Sundowner one. Again, there were 2 people who the next day contacted me and sent me a message, and really nice to meet you. Let's kind of meet for a coffee and chat. Is that typical for networking in Dubai, or have you got a special sauce that you sprinkle in to your networking events, or is that a trade secret?
It's definitely not a trade secret. But what I will say is, like I said to you earlier in the conversation, SBC is attracting like-minded people. Phil and I are not. Look, people are too busy to waste their time. And if you're a highly, highly transactional human being, where it's business first and business above everything else, then SBC is not really for you, So, and I think the word is getting out there. I'm not sure if it's a result of them drinking our special sauce, but it's definitely spreading that we are a bit different, and that it is about people first. And so at these events, we encourage that. What you've described as probably 2 polar opposites of what we have. They have the highly structured events that are usually in the morning when people are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And then we have our more casual evening networking events where people are given permission to relax and to be themselves. And then you meet them as people first, and it's generally business second. It's the business that comes as a result of saying, Sara, you're a lovely lady. Let's just chat even further. But if Sara did make a good impression on me in the first 15 seconds, I'm out of here.
What about you, Janine? What was your, I know we've sort of talked a bit about it, but what was your main takeaway then from the She Connects event?
I honestly think it was the whole thing of building that community. You know, She Connects was all about the belonging. I felt so that I found my tribe. This is where I can see myself do me better than anyone else can. And I've been to, I think, 5 events or 4 events. And I mean, looking back at the beginning, it was like, okay, this is nice, different. I can like it. And second and third, I'm like, yes, this is it. This is it. Because you Michelle, you guys do it very, very differently. And I'm sure a lot of networking people, they hear the same thing. But I don't think they're really listening to what people are saying to them when we say you are doing it differently. You have that massive impact in people's lives, and I really hope that you realize that. And I think whatever myself and Sara is doing right now is exactly the impact that you guys are giving us. And it's just really, 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 really awesome. And I think the main thing for me was the mindset. What mindset are you walking into when you go into a networking event? And I think Michelle is nodding like a proper teacher as you. Yeah. So Michelle, what is your thinking around that? Is having the right mindset? What is your thinking around that?
I would say I hinted a little bit earlier that we Phil and I are trying to rock that boat. Networking, if you're going, there's a couple of things I would say about mindset. Number one, and these are quite a little bit controversial. In our events, we very, very much promote collaboration and not competition. In actual fact, we put people of the same industry together.
I love it.
And say, look, we're all small business people. I might be a coach, but I don't do trauma coaching, but she does. I'm much more into relationships. And so you can see the synergy being created in one industry. And so I would say that mindset of being open to the idea that it's not all about competition. It's much, much more about collaboration. That's the one thing I would say. And the other thing I would say is the mindset of not what those people opposite me or near me or in the group can do for me. It's what I can do for them. You know, once you start with that mindset of giving and sharing and even being open to collaboration, whatever it might be, that's a whole different way of thinking than just saying, I've got my business card, I got 50 of them, I'm going to spray them around that room 50 times and someone's going to buy from me. If they don't, it was a rubbish networking event. So I would say that kind of mindset, the helping others, the idea that it is more about collaboration and it's about quality connections. You don't need to go, I don't know about you ladies, but I don't want to go and meet 30 people 40 people. I won't remember their names. And I would definitely not remember much about their businesses. So it's also about having that mindset that less is potentially more.
And you seem to get to know people, even if they're not coming on to your VIP packages or things like that, even just, the one-offs.
Absolutely.
There seems to be this ability to actually connect in with each person who's coming. And then, I mean, at the last one I was at, I was chatting to somebody who came up. You said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're talking to him. You two really need to, And I thought, wow, that was amazing. That was so encouraging. Aww. Again, the collaboration aspect of it, which you could really, it's very overt. It's not something that you're kind of trying to negotiate. Sort of secretly, it is very much like, no, come on, guys. There's enough business here for everybody.
Absolutely. And I would say it's upfront. It's encouraged. And there's also an element of education along with all of our sessions. What we try to do is help people to be better at networking, because if they are, then they'll get better results. And at the end of the day, Networking is a business development activity. I see the title of our session tonight is a nicety or a necessity, and I think it's both. You know, it is a necessity as a small business owner, and if there's anyone out there who's not convinced about that, give me 15 minutes to explain to you why. But because I didn't believe it when I first started. I was one of the disbelievers. And my husband said, but, and I went, no. And
that's interesting then. So can I just ask, what were your objections? Why did you think networking wasn't the right way to go?
I thought I just didn't need to do it. I was good at what I did. People would just come to me because I was good at what I did. Why do I need to do this networking stuff? But it very soon became apparent that actually, if they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you, you got zero chance of actually engaging, number one, but actually growing your business, number two. So, I was where a lot of people listening might be right now in their entrepreneurial life. So I know what it's like. But I would say that education part of it, because networking, it is actually a science, and we teach that science strategically. And networking is about strategy. It is about science, and then only can you get the results. But if you know nothing about it, and you kind of do what everyone else seems to be doing around you and get no results, then it might be time to rethink your strategy.
Totally agree. So,
what I'm getting your whole thing is about sales. Like, your thing is like, you got to you don't want people to be a really well kept secret, do you?
What I'm getting from all of this is personal growth, learning opportunities, building that community. And yes, I totally agree that networking is both. It is such an essential part of your career, but I also think it's so rewarding, and it just expands your horizon really in so many ways, and it will actually surprise you in many, many ways. And by approaching 100%. Networking with the right mindset and attitude, you can actually reap the benefits in more ways than one. And that is what I'm getting from you, Michelle.
Absolutely, Janine. But I think a lot of people, people see networking as a short-term solution. In actual fact, it is a longer-term solution, because it's about people and it's about relationships. And so if you see it as a short-term activity, chances are you're not going to be as successful as you could be. It is much more about that growth. It's about learning. 100%, Janine, I agree. Yes. And I know, because I've been through that journey, and it was an eye-opener, and it continues to be an eye-opener. I'm learning about it every single day. But I tell you what, there's no better city to do it in than Dubai, because the range and the quality and the caliber of people that you could potentially meet is unbelievable. And I am going to use the two young ladies who are hosting this evening as the prime
I'm going to take the young. I'm going to take the young bit. I'm going to put it in my pocket. I'm going to keep that for the night. That's going to do me. In fact, Michelle, that's exactly what Janine and I said to each other, which is the quality of, particularly the women, because I've only been to one where it was mixed, but the quality of the women that we met has been I was blown away. I was absolutely floored. Every single woman had the most amazing story, so inspiring. People had gone from one career to another. I was desperate to know why. I'm quite nosy, want to know how, why did that happen? How did that happen? How did they overcome? They must have had barriers that they overcame in order to do that. And I suppose just a quick question as well, just continuing on the education aspect of it. Even if you've been in Dubai a long time, I think one of the things is maybe there's a bit of complacency might set in terms of, you've got your niche, you've got your group of friends, you've got your, what you do regularly, because everyone likes the comfort zone. People like to know exactly what they're up to during the week. So even people who are more seasoned in terms of Dubai, residents, is networking still an essential part of their journey, do you think? Or do you think it's more for the newbies?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say Dubai is some elements of Dubai still maintain that transient feel. You know, when I came 27 years ago, I look back now and the number of people that I connected with or I worked with who are no longer here, you know, so your network is changing all the time. That is the nature of Dubai. I think now with the fact that people can put roots down in Dubai more easily. And remember, we're only talking about 15-ish years ago, about 17 years ago when people were allowed to buy property. But previous to that, that was not an option. And so now that people have got that option, Sara, they are more and more putting roots down, and you are getting a segment of the population that are here for the long term. Is networking still used by seasoned folks here? I think absolutely, and mainly because people come and go. You know that I don't know if you know a lot of people who've stayed here over 20 years. It's not as common as you think it is, but I think in a few years' time it will be. And I think then, you know, it might be slightly different. But at the moment, yes, I think even as a seasoned person, Dubai doesn't allow you to stay in your comfort zone, is what I would say. Even that job you described, you know, of being stable and all the rest, not so much. Industries are growing, they're changing, they're evolving. And I don't think Dubai's ever allowed any of us to become too complacent. And
well,
that's
let's face it. If we didn't have Google Maps, I think all of us would be going around in circles as well, you know, because the roads are expanding and developing so much. You could go down one road one day and the next day it's a completely different direction because they're expanding and growing, and the rate is it is unbelievable. I mean, I drove past one of the new developments about 3 months ago and there was nothing there, and I drove past the other day and there was about 30 houses, and I went, only in Dubai. Only in Dubai can you drive past the desert, and 3 months later, you know, boom, there's half a development is there. It is incredible. The energy here is, you know, it's fast pace.
It really is.
And I think it's the one thing that as a business owner you need to know and need to realize is that you need to shift gears.
Pivot.
Whether you are seasoned or whether you are a startup, it doesn't matter. You have to shift gears to get to that next level. And that next level is different for every single person. And I think that's the diversity part and the beauty of where we're at today is it's so different for every single one. But by opening your mouth, asking questions, being curious, it can open doors. And we spoke about doors so much tonight. I just want to open my door because I don't know what's next. But we have another question, and I hope we have some time. Sara, can we drop a question?
Sure. Let's go for another few more minutes. And I want to grill Michelle a bit more as well.
So we've got Yvonne. She's on a friend of hers account, Carolyn. So thank you so much for being here. Her question is, what type of small businesses do people join your events for? Ooh, nice question.
They join our events for?
Yeah. Yes, that is the question. What type of small businesses do people join your events for?
Okay, so we have a range, the full range of businesses represented. I mean, if you go to our calendar, we think we've covered all industries in some shape or form. And again, using the idea of collaboration as its central focus, but honestly, all different sorts. We've got from branding, we've got from law, we've got finance, we've got there was a dentistry, we've got clinics, well-being, we've got trainers, you name it, real estate, all sorts of little businesses where generally folks have worked in the industry for some of them, and then they've decided to go out on their own. And so they may have industry experience of 20 years, and then they've decided, you know what, I'm going to start a business in that same industry, but it's going to be mine. So does that answer the question for her?
I think it does. And I think sorry, Sarah, for both me and Sarah, we've been to your events.
Yeah. Yep. Go for it.
And yeah, every time there's someone new. I mean, for me, my last event with SBC She Connects, there was this lady, I think it was from Portugal. She designs sneakers with fur and sequences and diamonds. And I was like, what on earth is this? And I just realized right there and then that the world is your oyster. It doesn't matter what your idea is, just bring it on the table, because with networking and in your right circles, you can make anything happen. And I think that's what I really appreciate with SBC, Michelle, is exactly that. You're creating that comfort.
Thank you, Janine. We you know, every success, we are working with her at the moment, actually. She's got a fantastic product. It is, in some words, when you talked to Sara before, it is so Dubai. You know, when you can customize your trainers just the way you like them. Well, come on, ladies, who doesn't want to do that? I do. And I think, but I think also at SBC, because we make it, we take things personally, and people deserve to be nurtured and to be cared for and to be looked after. Most of us are here without our family, you know, and so we sometimes call it the SBC family, and we say it tongue in cheek, but actually it is, because folks who are working with us, we take their successes personally. We take some of their, you know, their challenges personally too. But I will say that if folks come, we also in our sessions give them an ask. If there's something that they really, really need at that moment in time, to be brave enough to ask. Just throw it out there for the universe and see what happens. And we had a lady who did that a few weeks, I think it was at your event, you know, the lady who talked about the school and the hospital in the Pakistani border and all this work. Well, you want to see, as a result of that meeting, where she is now. She's in Pakistan as we speak, meeting with ministers through contacts that she made at that event. I mean, some of these successes,
we have to get her on. We have to get her on. She can talk about her.
I absolutely agree. That was where my mind went.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff. Phenomenal.
So I've got one last question for you, Michelle, then, which is for those who are not natural extroverts and out there people, what sort of advice then would you give when you go to a networking event, especially if they're one which is quite intimate, in the sense that, you know, you've got to really sort of talk about who you are, and there is that kind of, there's a lovely nurturing environment, but for some people maybe there's a sort of a bit of an inner conflict or a little bit of lack of, you know, confidence. What advice would you give them?
I think the first thing I would say is and I know you're saying at our networking event where they're in a nurturing environment, but if they go to another one and they're not feeling comfortable, it takes a whole lot longer to work. But the advice would be, go take the time to learn some of the things that will help you in that situation. And number one is actually explaining what you do. I mean, when people, you know, I know it sounds like it's just given, but
my pet hate.
but because when you're explaining what you do and people are nodding in that kind of environment, it's giving you the idea that they understand what you do. And people can't help you if they truly don't understand what you actually do. So my advice would be, take a few minutes to prepare something, an explanation that's either in story form or anecdotal or just plain straight humorous or factual, but say it give the idea that you're explaining it to a 15-year-old. So no jargon, no acronyms, none of that nonsense. Just explain it as you would to a 15-year-old. And if they can nod their head and go, oh, yeah, no problem. I know exactly what you do. Job done. Because that's the secret to good networking. The other secret is, of course, that the other person's listening. There's a whole different story about that one.
Definitely. And often, certainly this is what I found, is when you're talking to somebody and you're listening to them, because it's a two-way street. It's not just, you're not supposed to expect other people to listen to you. You've got to be listening to what they're saying. And sometimes you might hear them say something and you think, oh, actually, I didn't come here to talk about that aspect of what I do, but actually that's something else. Or I know somebody. I know this was something I learned 22 years ago, which is if you can't help somebody, but you know someone who can, pass it on. Just pass the information on. Just give them the number, give them the name, step out the way. It's up to them to take it. But I think it can be great service to people to just be able to connect others. And it's not something people actually feel comfortable always doing. Sometimes I get messages saying, is it okay if I pass your number on to someone? I go, yes. Why you ask? Yes, absolutely. Please pass my name and my number on to people. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think, Sara, it is so unbelievably true. And again, it was going back to what we were saying before, that it is a two-way street. And networking, if you're going with the mindset of what can I do for someone else, and then they may be able to, if all of us are going with the mindset of what can I do for someone else, you're going to get helped in return. That's just the way it works. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. And that is something we value, and we make it very known that we do value, and we highlight it. We shout out about it to people who have helped others and gone out of their way sometimes to do it. I think it's we need more of that in our world, and we're determined at SBC to make it happen.
Fantastic. Well, we don't have any more questions from the audience by the looks of it. If there are any questions, speak now.
No, I think
forever hold your peace.
I think. Well, yeah, I think that this is it for tonight, and I'm very excited for the future of networking. And I think if anyone wants to know more about that, get in contact with our guest speaker. We will share her details, and please don't go stalk her now. Be nice, relax. She'll get to you. But I think, Michelle, you've been an absolute gem and a beautiful human, and we absolutely love you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to being here. We really, really appreciate you. You're making waves in the circles of networking and business, and especially in the women's sphere, if you will. Yeah, Sara, back to you.
Well, there was no better guest, and it was just a no-brainer. This is how Janine and I met. There was a great friendship has formed already, and a business partnership, and who knows where this will go. Our aim is to have lots of online and in-person events, and obviously we'll be dragging you into those as well, Michelle, kicking and screaming. You won't be able to get rid of us. You won't be able to get rid of us.
I'll be thinking of dancing. I'll be dancing.
No, you've been an absolute star, and really, really great questions from the audience. Thank you to everyone who has, joined us live. That was amazing as well for kicking off a brand new series. No one really kind of knows exactly who we are together or what we're about. So thank you to those who've joined us and who are watching the recording as well. We really appreciate it. But Michelle, do you want to just do very quickly where people can find you? We will share the links, but just what are the main platforms?
Our main platform is probably to go to our SBC website, which is strategicbusinessconnect.com, and we've got a full calendar of events. So come down and meet us. That would be lovely. But can I also just say, ladies, a huge congratulations to both of you. Both of you, yes, you are here today because you were brave. You took the initiative and met each other and followed up to discover and took the time to discover your synergy. So my huge congratulations and best wishes moving forward to Women Wise.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Okay, so next week we're going to have another guest, someone who I've met on another at networking, and then it discovered that Janine had also met her as well. She seems to get around a lot, actually. So we're going to be talking a lot more about self-care, and something that's a lot of women in particular put to the bottom of the list. And I think in this day and age, as you said, it's really, really important to be human first. And we need a lot more of that as well. And self-care is part of that. So we're just coming up to the hour. I can't believe it. We've done 60 minutes. I think we squeezed an awful lot in. So just want to say thank you. Thank you from Janine, myself, Michelle. Thank you again for being here. And ladies, we hope to see you all next week. And please do share the word. This is how it works. And we're going to sign out. Thank you so much.
See you next week.